A wife was left shocked when she came home one day and found her children's nanny wet after stepping out of the shower. What was even more surprising was that her husband was there and he sided with the nanny when his wife showed concern. Okay, here's the backstory. My hubby and I hired a babysitter for our 3 children as we're both slammed with work all the time. Everything had been fine until yesterday. I walked in at 6 p.m., and there she was with her hair all wet. She said she had to shower because my kiddo spilled milk on her. The babysitter was hired and is paid by me to look after mine and my husband's children, all under 6. She tried reassuring me by saying the children were fine while she showered quickly because they were napping. I still don't think it's appropriate for you to shower in my home, though, I replied in frustration. The 23-year-old brushed my concerns aside and argued that it wasn't a big deal. As we went back and forth on the matter, my husband suddenly appeared in the living room. I was more confused that my husband was home, and on top of that he sided with the babysitter, but I insisted that I was uncomfortable with what happened. My feelings were dismissed by both parties and the babysitter left to go home. But here's where it gets totally weird. My husband, who's supposed to be at work at that time doing the night shift, is right there at home. My gut told me something totally wrong occurred, and I just couldn't stop thinking that they were having an affair. So the next day, before leaving for work, I decided to dig out and turn on the dusty old nanny camera that I'd been using when my children were babies. I secretly set it up in the living room before I headed to work. The day started like any other, with the usual morning rush of getting the children ready, making breakfast, and kissing my husband goodbye as I left first for work, with the babysitter passing me at the entrance. Or so I thought. Little did I know my world was about to turn upside down. Not even an hour later, I checked the camera and saw my husband, who'd left for work, walking in the door. My heart just dropped when he approached our nanny. Tears blurred my vision as I watched, unable to comprehend the scene unfolding on the small screen of my phone. In a daze, I told my boss I felt sick and needed to go home, though the sickness I felt was one of betrayal and heartache. Rushing home, driven by a mix of dread and a desperate need for answers, I expected the worst. Yet what I found was my husband at the cooker, preparing food. The sight left me dumbfounded. Confusion clouded my mind as I tried to reconcile the images from the nanny camera with the man standing before me. Was I cheated on or what? My husband, sensing my distress, turned to me with a look of worry. "Why are you home so early?" he asked. I told him they let me go home early because of a power outage that brought the systems down. He seemed to accept my story before saying, "Honey, I have to tell you something," his voice heavy with guilt. The confession that followed was one I could never have anticipated. He admitted to being afraid to tell me the truth, that a week ago he was fired due to downsizing at work. My spouse said he hadn't wanted to bother me with it and decided to pretend that he was going to work. Instead, he would return home, look for jobs online, and help with taking care of the children, adding, "Yesterday, indeed, our daughter spilled milk on our nanny, so I told her to go and wash everything while I was there to take care of the kids who were napping." The incident with the babysitter? A simple accident, he explained, that he had handled so I wouldn't have to worry. He intended to support me by keeping the household running smoothly in the face of his own crisis. As he shared his struggles, I felt a whirlwind of emotions. Guilt for not noticing the signs of his distress, anger for being kept in the dark, but also compassion for the fear and love that drove his actions. It was a sobering reminder of the unseen battles we each face, hidden behind a facade, reminder of the unseen battles we each face, hidden behind a facade of normalcy. That's why I was home yesterday. And why the nanny was. It was an accident. Really, he added, hoping to clarify the misunderstanding. "But why didn't you just tell me?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. "I was afraid," he admitted. "Afraid of how you'd react and seeing disappointment in your eyes. I wanted to fix it before you had to worry about it too." We sat down at the kitchen table, in a silent agreement to talk it out. "And the nanny?" I finally asked, needing to know more about that day. "She was just as surprised as you are about all this. She's been really understanding, considering the awkward position we put her in," he explained. I nodded, taking in his words, the anger slowly dissipating. I owe her an apology then, and thank you for trying to keep things running smoothly. I just wish you had told me." He reached for my hand across the table. "I know. I'm sorry. From now on, no more secrets. We'll get through this together." That night we had a long overdue conversation. It was painful, yes, but also cathartic. We discussed the importance of openness and honesty, acknowledging the strain our silence had placed on our marriage. The realization that we had both been trying to shield each other from hardship, at the cost of our connection, was a poignant moment. The babysitter, unwittingly caught in our family drama, became an unexpected catalyst for change. We apologized for the misunderstanding, grateful for her understanding and the care she had shown our family during a confusing time. My husband and I promised to keep her on, not just as a babysitter, but as someone who had demonstrated remarkable responsibility and compassion. In the end, this challenging ordeal brought to light the strength and resilience of our family. It reminded us that in times of hardship, the bonds of love and understanding can see us through the darkest times. It was a lesson in the importance of communication, a reminder that the weight of the world is easier to bear when shared with those we love. Here is a quick synopsis of a similar tale that might interest readers. Kate and her husband, Dan's nearly a decade-long relationship is put to a brief but intense test. The couple, blessed with 3 children, leads a busy yet fulfilling life, with Dan working as a university professor and Kate as a wedding photographer. Their life, filled with the demands of work and family, is supported by their nanny, Ella, whose dedication and affection for the children are unmatched. The story takes a turn one evening when Kate returns home unexpectedly early from a trip, only to find Ella, their trusted nanny, leaving their house at an unusual hour. This encounter sparks a whirlwind of suspicion in Kate's mind, especially when Ella's explanation and Dan's subsequent, uneasy excuse about borrowing a book feel insufficient and out of place. The seeds of doubt, once sown, grow rapidly, leading Kate to search her husband's office. She discovers a black box containing what appears to be wedding rings. This discovery further fuels her anxiety, prompting fears of betrayal and a hidden life. Confronting Dan with the box and her fears, Kate demands the truth. The tension peaks, only for Dan to reveal a heartwarming secret. His intentions, obscured by secrecy and misunderstandings, finally come to light, showcasing his true feelings for Kate. Ella's involvement, too, is clarified, but you'll have Taklik Hirito read the full and compelling story.